Welcome back to the BlogHubPoint YouTube channel. In this video, you'll learn about the different CSS color format value types used with CSS properties. In this lecture, we will discuss the 5 most important CSS color formats. Let's dive in. Our first property is the built-in color name. This was covered in a previous lecture with CSS types, but here you'll learn how to use it with the CSS format value. The built-in color names allow us to use color names directly as values with CSS properties. Let's take a look at an example. First, write an H1 tag and inside it add the text. This is a CSS built-in name. This will display in the browser. Next, add the style attribute within the H1 tag and write the color property. After the colon, you can specify a color, such as blue. When you view it in the browser, you'll see the text in blue. To change the background color of the heading tag, use the background color property. Write a color from the list, such as aqua. Now in the browser, you will see the text color as blue and the background color as aqua. Our next CSS format type is the hexadecimal value. It represents a color using a hexadecimal code. This format is denoted by a hash symbol, followed by 6 characters. The first 2 digits represent the red RR value, the next 2 digits represent the green GG value, and the last 2 digits represent the blue BB value. These values range from 00 to FF in hexadecimal format. You can see the syntax here. Now, let's look at a list of different colors with their names and corresponding hexadecimal values displayed on the screen. For example, we have maroon with its color and hexadecimal value, yellow with its color and code, and similarly for green and lime. To help understand this better, we will use 2 colors, one for the text and the other for the background. Write an H1 tag and inside it, add the text. This is a hexadecimal CSS value. Next, include the style attribute and then write the background color CSS property. After that, use a hexadecimal color code from the list, such as the code for silver, which is C00C0 for the background property. For example, write the hexadecimal code as C0C0C0. You can use either lowercase or uppercase letters, as hexadecimal values are not case sensitive. You see the background color for the heading as silver. Now we change the heading text color. Write the color name, then write a hash, followed by 6 digits. This will show the text in white for the heading. You can also use the 3-digit hexadecimal value, and it will work. Now we see our third CSS value, which is known as the RGB value. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. It is defined by 3 arguments, 1 for each color, and each color takes a value between 0 and 255. Let's understand it with an example. First, you can see different RGB values for different colors. For example, the RGB value for gray is 128, 128, 128, and the RGB value for black is 000. When you look at the RGB value for red, it shows 255 for red, with green and blue values set to 0. For yellow, the RGB value shows 255 for both red and green, with blue set to 0. For green, the red value is 0, the green value is 128, and the blue value is 0. We use 2 RGB colors for our color and background color CSS properties in our HTML code. Let's write an H1 tag and inside the tag, write the text "This is RGB CSS value." You will see the text displayed in the browser. After this, add the style attribute, then type the CSS color property, followed by a colon. Next, write RGB, then parentheses, and inside the parentheses, write 255.0.0. After this, you will see the text displayed in red color on the browser. When we change the red color value from 255 to 244, you might notice that the red color thickness changes, but visually it remains the same. Also, the color picker automatically opens when we use the color property in CSS. Inside the color picker, there is a color wheel and a color indicator, which we use to adjust the RGB color values. As we move the color indicator, the RGB values update live, and you can see the changes at the top of the color picker. If you move the color wheel again, you will notice that the RGB values in the style change in real time, and the browser displays the updated color, which could appear as brown depending on the new RGB values. Next, we add the background color CSS property and use RGB values. When we write RGB 128.0.128 inside the brackets, it shows the purple color. If blue color value 0, then it shows a brown-red mixed color as the background. Now if we change the values to RGB 0, 128.0, with red set to 0, green set to 128, and blue set to 0, the background color will turn green. You can see this change reflected in the browser. The next color value is RGBA. The RGBA is similar to RGB, but it includes an additional value called alpha, which is used to control the transparency of the color. The alpha value is written after the RGB values in the syntax. If you look at the RGBA color chart, it shows the color names vertically on the left side and the alpha transparency levels horizontally. The alpha values range from 1.0, fully opaque, to 0.0, fully transparent. For colors like black, navy blue, and gray, you can see how the transparency changes as the alpha value decreases. Let's look at an example to demonstrate this. Write an H1 tag, and inside the heading tag, add the text. This is RGBA with alpha CSS values. When you view it in the browser, it will display the text. Next, add the style attribute inside the H1 tag and use the color CSS property. Then write RGBA followed by the brackets, and inside the brackets, add 215500 for red and set the alpha value to 1.0. When you view it in the browser, the text will appear in red. After this, change the alpha value of the red color. For example, if you set the alpha value to 0.9, the red color will appear lighter. If you set the alpha value to 0.4, the text will be even lighter. If you change the alpha value to 0.7, the text will appear less light. Next, add the background color CSS property and write RGBA with the values 255 for red, 255 for green, and 0 for blue. Correctly, the background property name. When you view it in the browser, it will show a yellow color without an alpha value because it takes the default value of 1.0. Now, if you set the alpha value to 0.7, you will see a lighter yellow. If you change the alpha value to 0.8, the yellow will be less light. Setting the alpha value to 0.5 will make the yellow more transparent and lighter, which works well as a background color. Next, CSS color value HSL. The HSL stands for hue, saturation, and lightness, which is a more intuitive way to define colors in CSS. Hue represents the color itself, ranging from 0 to 360 degrees, where 0 is red, 120 is green, and 240 is blue. Saturation defines the intensity of the color, from 0% to 100% full color. Lightness controls how light or dark the color is, also from 0% black to 100% white. HSL is great for creating color variations and can be more user-friendly than RGB when designing colors for your website. Let's see it with example. Create an H1 tag with the text "This is HSL" value inside it. Then add a style attribute to the opening H1 tag. In the style, use the color property and set it to an HSL value. The HSL value should have the following components: hue at 165 degrees, saturation at 70%, and lightness at 65%. When rendered in a browser, this will show the text in a shade of aqua color with variations based on the HSL values. Next, write the background color property and set it to an HSL value. The hue should be at 180 degrees, saturation at 20%, and lightness at 25%. No, here you change the lightness to 50% and saturation to 20%. When rendered in a browser, this will show the text in a shade of gray color with variations based on the HSL values. Thanks for watching that video. If you enjoy that video, then subscribe, like, and comments.